Hello and welcome to English for You. I'm Nicole.
I'm Chickling.
Today we're going to talk about a book where the main character tells her story through a diary. Do you like reading books?
I used to when I was really young, like when I was a kid, but not anymore because I don't have a lot of time.
Oh, it can be hard. I read a lot of audiobooks.
Oh.
Yeah, so I actually listen to the book when I'm on the train or on the bus, or sometimes even when I'm just walking around, I'll listen to the book on my headphones.
Oh.
So that makes reading a lot faster. And also if there's a word I don't know, I hear it instead of just seeing the letters and not knowing how to say it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so that's a good way to learn new words as well. But let's go to our article today and find out what our main character is going through.
Reading. The Yellow Wallpaper. This story is written as a diary explaining the thoughts of a woman as she descends into madness. Each paragraph is a separate diary entry written on a different day.
It's not often that one gets the chance to stay in such an attractive mansion. It might only be for a few months, but it's a beautiful place, sitting all alone in the most charming gardens. I would think that it would be nice to stay longer, except there is something strange about the house. Why is it so cheap? And why has no one else rented it? I think the house must be haunted, but my husband John thinks I'm too anxious. John is a practical man in every sense. I suppose he must be. He's a physician after all. I should feel lucky that he is. But sometimes, though I won't say this out loud, I think he's the reason I don't get well sooner. You see, he doesn't believe I'm sick at all. So instead of medicine, John takes me on these trips, and I'm not allowed to work until I'm better. This treatment is supposed to make me well again.
The article begins, "This story is written as a diary, explaining the thoughts of a woman as she descends into madness." Descends into madness, that's a nice phrase.
Yeah.
Altogether, it means the woman is slowly becoming crazy. So madness is another word for crazy or wild. And then to descend into, it means something is getting worse. So, for example, we could say the students stopped listening to the teacher and the classroom descended into madness or descended into chaos.
Chaos 这边是混乱 like a mess. 好，所以这边有一个 descend into something 是陷入什么的状况。所以我们今天要讲的故事呢，我们会以日记的形式来写，然后它是讲述一个女人陷入疯狂时的想法。这边的 madness 就是来自于 mad 这个形容词，代表疯狂的意思。
The article continues. Each paragraph is a separate diary entry written on a different day. So a paragraph is a chunk of text. So most articles and stories and things are broken down into, we know, a sentence and then a group of sentences, that's a paragraph.
所以它就是段落 paragraph 的意思。那每个段落呢，它都是以一个单独的日记条目，然后分别是不同天写的意思哦。
And there's another word in this sentence, entry. So when we think of this word, we might hear enter, and they're certainly related, but here we're talking about a diary entry. This means a piece of information in a diary or a book. For example, I make an entry in my diary every day.
所以 entry 呢，老师刚刚有提到嘛，它就是也有进入、加入的意思。不过在我们的课文中是条目、项目的意思。所以如果当进入或者是加入，我们常常看到，不能进来，禁止入内，英文就是 no entry。那或者是进入一个地方，你也可以讲的 make someone's entry， or to make one's entry 也可以，就是进入什么。比如说 Harry made his entry into the village。Harry 进了村子。所以文章中我们再强调一次，这边的entry 指的是条目的意思哦。
And now that we're prepared, we can read the diary entry. It starts, It's not often that one gets the chance to stay in such an attractive mansion.
那我们来看一下 attractive.
Something that looks very good and inviting is attractive. For example, the display in the window of the store was very attractive, so I just had to go inside. Well, I have a bad shopping habit anyway, so it really doesn't take much for me to go into a store, but I especially cannot resist a store that looks so attractive.Attractive
是吸引人的意思，那它的名词呢代表漂亮诱人，我们可以在后面加上一个 ness 变成 attractiveness。那如果是有吸引力的事物，或甚至是讲景点的话，你也可以说 attraction。所以比如像 tourist attraction 是我们很常用的片语，比如说 the indoor flower market is a big tourist attraction in my city。那我们刚刚老师讲到，我们文章里面 mansion 这个字就是大房子、豪宅 ，a very very beautiful big house。所以人们很少有机会入住这么迷人的豪宅哦。
We can also use attractive for people as well. So we can say he is very attractive or she is very attractive. It means they are very beautiful. But our story continues. It might only be for a few months, but it's a beautiful place.Sitting all alone in the most charming gardens. So charming, similar to the word attractive. Something that is charming feels and looks nice and it makes you feel good. Here's an example. The house was small but charming. It had lots of flowers and comfy furniture. So usually things that are very big are not so charming. Something that's small, that's really cozy and comfortable, that's more charming.
所以老师刚刚的句子里面有出现 comfy 这个字，我顺便讲一下，它是英文里面很舒服、觉得很舒服的口语的用法，所以大家也可以使用它。那 charming 这个字指的是迷人的、有魅力的。那当然不只形容人啊，我们形容事物也可以 ，like a charming smile, a charming town, a charming street， 这些都是很常见的。所以比如说 her kind words and charming smile filled me with joy， 她很善良的话，然后又很迷人的笑容，让我好开心哦。所以呢，她可能只有几个月，不过呢，这个 mansion 是个很漂亮的地方，它独自坐落在最迷人的花园中。
So the place that this woman is going to is attractive, it's charming. That sounds like a wonderful holiday.
Yeah, I would like to go there maybe and take a break.
Yeah, have you ever stayed in, say, in a house in the countryside?
Not that I remember.
No? See, I'm from Ireland, so we didn't really have a lot of money to go out of the country, so we would just go down to the countryside and you would stay in a little house.
That's nice.
There'd be lovely fields, sometimes a beach, and you would just
I like the countryside.
Yeah, it's beautiful. But let's go back to our story. The next line says, I would think that it would be nice to stay longer, except there is something strange about the house.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
So maybe there's something going on?
Uh-oh.
We don't
Maybe
know.
Not so attractive and charming.
所以我想呢，如果房子住得久一点就好了，除非呢房子是有怪怪的事情在发生哦。
The woman continues, Why is it so cheap? And why has no one else rented it? These are both good questions. I wonder if we'll get the answers.
好，所以这个女孩子她继续写，她说为什么房子这么便宜呢？而且为什么没有人租用它呢？
The next line tells us what the woman thinks. She continues, I think the house must be haunted, but my husband, John, thinks I'm too anxious.
好，这边有一个字 haunted， 它是闹鬼的意思，所以一个闹鬼的房子，我们通常都会说 a haunted house。那我们这边有看到 anxious 这个字，我们先进到下一个部分。
Anxious is a feeling where you think something bad is going to happen. It's a similar feeling to feeling nervous. To use this word in a sentence, we can say, I felt very anxious before I took my final test. I really wanted a good grade. So things that make us nervous can make us anxious as well.
Anxious 就是焦虑的或不安的，那它是形容词哦。名词的话呢是 anxiety， 代表焦虑、担心。那你后面加上你焦虑、担心的事情，可以加一个 over。所以比如说 ，There is growing public anxiety over levels of air pollution in our cities。大众呢对我们城市空气污染的水平是越来越焦虑的。这边出现的 air pollution 就是空气污染。然后这个女孩子她就说：“嘿，我想这个房子一定是闹鬼，你看 so cheap, no one else rented it before， 都没有人租过。那但是我的老公呢，约翰却认为是我焦虑想太多了。”
Oh, anxious, anxiety, those are things that happen very often to me.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I always get anxious, especially when I have to take a test.
Oh.
Even when I study really hard, sometimes I just look at the test and I forget the answer.
Oh, no. I'm so glad you're not a student anymore. Are you still a student?
Well, sometimes I still study a couple things.
Okay.
But taking tests is still very nerve-wracking. That's
true,
a nice
true.
phrase. Does that ever happen to you when you took tests?
Never. Because like I hate studying, so I'm like, okay, I'm just going to get good grades on the subjects that I like, and for the subjects I don't like, I'll just let them go.
So you stay calm and collected.
Yeah, I don't really get anxious about tests.
Okay. That's very lucky. That's good. Then.
You're a good student, so that means I'm not. I'm a bad one.
Oh no.
Teachers hate me.
Oh no. But back to the story anyway. Back to this house that is making her feel anxious. So in the next diary entry, she's talking about her husband, John. She says, John is a practical man in every sense. So practical is the word we have here. It means you like to be realistic about things. He's more about action and not emotion. So for example, my friend is a practical person. He always has an umbrella in case it rains.
Okay, so practical 是务实的意思，或甚至有实用的。所以一般来说，你后面可以加上一个名词来代表什么东西是实用，什么东西是实际。像是一个实际经验呢，你就可以说 practical experience， 或甚至是很实际的建议 practical advice， 或实际的应用在某件事情上面 practical application。所以比如说呢，约翰是一个就是说他的那个缺乏这一个实际经验是一个很不利的条件，那英文就可以说 His lack of practical experience was a disadvantage。所以我回到文章中呢，这个老婆她就讲这个女孩子，她说她的老公约翰其实是一个很务实的人。That sounds like a good thing, being practical, being a practical man.
Yeah, I'm definitely the practical person in my friend group. I always have the umbrella, the tissues. I always know the schedules, especially if we're going on a trip or something. I have everything planned, everything realistic. I'm all about action, getting things done, not just going with the flow. What are you? Are you more go with the flow?
I usually go with the flow. I'm sorry. I need a friend like you.
It's okay. I'll plan everything. Well, let's learn more about the husband, John. The diary continues. I suppose he must be. He's a physician after all. So the woman here is saying that her husband has to be practical because he's a physician. Physician is just another word for doctor. We can use the word in the same way. I went to see the doctor, I went to see the physician. For example, I was feeling sick, so I went to the physician for a checkup.
好，老师这边出现的 check up 指的是身体健康检查的意思哦。好，那 physician 指的是内科医师或医师，那它通常是比较偏美式英文啦，是比较正式的讲法。那我们通常会说咨询医师，去看医生，英文就是 to consult one's physician。所以比如说 if there's still something wrong with your stomach, consult your physician。那这当然呢，这也是必然的，毕竟呢，他是一位医生嘛。这个老婆她自己就讲了。
The woman then says, I should feel lucky that he is, but sometimes, though I won't say this out loud, I think he's the reason I don't get well sooner.
Okay.
Ooh, so we see the story is developing here as we learn more about the husband. Here we have the phrase out loud. So this doesn't mean to say something loudly, that might be confusing. It just means something that is heard. So if I say something out loud, it just means I'm speaking. So she's been thinking about her husband and thinking that he's the reason that she's still sick. But she doesn't say this out loud, so she doesn't say it to anyone. She keeps it in her head and now in her diary.
所以 out loud 这边指的是响亮的或大声的，所以文章意思是说，可是我应该是因为有一个误使老公感到很幸运才对，但我并不会大声说出来，因为我觉得呢，我这么都不能早点康复的原因是因为我老公。
But why would she think her husband is keeping her sick? She says, "You see, he doesn't believe I'm sick at all." Oh dear, well, that would be probably the main reason for him.
Maybe he thinks that she's pretty normal. Okay, 所以呢，她就说她老公不相信她自己是生病，but maybe she isn't sick. She thinks that she's sick.
But she isn't really sick.
Bizarre. Okay.
The next line says, "So, instead of medicine, John takes me on these trips, and I'm not allowed to work until I'm better."
That sounds good. I don't want to work. 好，我们这边有出现今天的文法，我们现在今天的 language and focus。好，我们今天的 language and focus 要讲的是 not blah 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 until 的用法。那么 until 这个字我们先讲，它是指直到什么时候到什么时候为止，所以它表示一直做某件事，一直到某个时间。那 not blah 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 until 的它是属于否定的部分。那我们先讲一下肯定怎么使用。比如说 he lived in Japan until he was 12， 那代表呢在12岁前他都是住在日本的哦。那从上面举的例子你就知道说，我们主要子句的动作呢是会一直做到 until 后面接的时间点才没有继续做。所以如果今天你的主要子句是否定句的时候，它的意思就是变成这个动作是一直保持没有做的状态，一直到 until 这个点的时间点它才开始做。好，我们造一个句子你们会比较清楚。比如说 I didn't do my homework until my mom came home， 直到我妈妈回家我才做作业。又或者是我们有一个谚语叫做今日事今日毕，英文你也可以说 never put off until tomorrow what you can do today。 那这个 put off 就是有延后拖延的意思。
So there we had the phrase not until. So it means something can only happen if something else happens first. So here the woman is not allowed to work until she gets better. Another example could be, I'm not allowed to play video games until I finish my homework.
好，所以呢，这个女生就继续说了，我的老公不让我吃药，而是带我去旅行，而且限制我不能工作，在我好起来之前都不能工作。But he doesn't think she's sick. That's weird. Okay.
That's strange. The final line for today says, "This treatment is supposed to make me well again."
但是这种治疗本来就是要让我恢复健康的呀。
So the woman is getting treatments, but she doesn't think they're making her better. A very strange story.
But 我们明天呢就会继续看这个故事 and we'll find out more about it.
Tomorrow.
But before that, let's go to our For You Chat question.
For You Chat.
So here's our For You Chat question for the day. Do you write a diary? If so, what kinds of things do you write about? If not, would you like to?
I used to write a diary every day when I was in high school.
Yeah?
I just wrote down everything that happened just in case I forget in the future. But
Yeah.
I don't really do it now, but I think I'm going to. I'm going to start. What about you?
I keep a diary and I still write in it, maybe not every day, but at least like 2 or 3 times a week, because I use it to get out all my anxiety and all my, like, anything I'm feeling, I'll just write about it in the journal.
That's a really
so I
good
think
thing.
it's a really good way to express yourself in your diary and also remember the things that have happened.
True. Yeah, 那你们大家有在写日记的习惯吗? You can talk about it with your friends. And I think that's pretty much about it for today. We'll see you tomorrow. This is Chickling.
This is Nicole. Bye-bye.
Vocabulary Review. Entry. Carol wrote an entry in her diary every day when she was in school. Attractive. This is such an attractive apartment. I really like the designs of the living room and bedroom. Charming. We rented a nice room in a charming little hotel next to the river. Anxious. Maggie is anxious about the exam tomorrow, but she has studied a lot, so she should be fine. Practical. Sophia isn't a very practical person. She always wears high-heeled shoes that look great but hurt her feet. Physician. The physicians in this clinic only treat children's health problems, so sick adults must see a doctor at another clinic.
智慧小补帖
Descend into something. Paragraph. Mansion. Haunted.
以上节目是由活用空中美语制作。活用空中美语杂志，请洽询全国各大书店。如欲索取试听教材，请来电02-2364-4000 02-2364-4000，或上网查询，网址是 www.english4u.net www.english4u.net